That I think that was a good cue to Ofra, because now we have been slightly unanimous about around the major and the staff college level students, and I think maybe Ofra has a slightly different approach to where they are going, and so the word is yours, Ofra.
Well, the problem with speaking now is that only my comments on what was already said will take all my time. So just two factual corrections. One, David, the photo of Shimon is not Shimon Nave, it's Yair Nave, which is another Israeli general. So change the photo.
Oh, thank you.
Second,
I'll do that.
No, please, someone will see. Second, when we brought SOD to the US, our sponsor was Andrew Marshall, the late Andrew Marshall. So whoever had access to Andrew Marshall had access to SOD. It didn't begin from SAMS. SAMS was just one avenue. And since Booz Allen Hamilton was a big contractor with SAMS, we just went off with whoever Booz Allen had contract with. So it was SOCOM, CENTCOM, STRATCOM, PAYCOM, everyone. And it didn't go through the design school. On the contrary, it was like contracting companies, we are selling you workshop for 2 weeks. That was like a serious shortcut. You didn't have to go through developing a curriculum. You didn't have to go through, whoever needs to sign off a curriculum for, command. So just a thought, you want to bring design, you want to bring it fast, don't go through the command schools. Put this aside. Thomas, the first thing that you started this conversation was how we teach design or how design is being taught. And it kind of, something didn't work with me when you said that, and I didn't know why. And then it came back to me now, having heard everyone speak. We don't teach design. The general's course, Shimon Nave and myself, we don't teach design. We teach command. We teach generalship. We taught operational command in the beginning, like from 1995 to 2005. We taught, that's what it was called, Advanced Operational Command Course. We taught operational art. And we taught SOD because we thought design was a tool. It was not an end in itself. Design was the tool that was appropriate for operational commanders to do operations, to think systemically, okay? Now, so why am I so bothered by it? Because we are teaching, at the end of the day, we are giving design tools. But Shimon Nave and the team, and then when I joined them, we developed design in this very certain context. The way we are doing SOD, and now it is strategic operational design, or strategic operational disruption, or systemic, whatever, SOD++. We're still thinking of generals. We're thinking at a certain command level with a certain understanding of what their challenges are, and then we're developing a methodology for it. So if it is not used in that context, and that process, by the way, when we're doing it now, begins with developing the systemic orientation, going through phases, going through red teaming, developing our own a new alternative strategy, developing at the end an alternative operation. Because it is a process geared for generals. And in the IDF, the generals are doing the design. We don't have staffs doing the design for the generals. The generals are leading the design group. So that is what we are geared at. So if I had to, now that I'm presenting, I'm not explaining how we teach design in the IDF. I'm explaining how we teach generals. And design is one of the tools that we use, okay? To me, maybe it sounds like, I'm playing with words, but suddenly it resonated. No, I'm not teaching design. I'm not teaching innovation. I'm teaching command, like senior command. Anyway, so I did make a presentation because I like presentations. And let me share the screen just a second. It's short. I hope you're seeing the full frame. Okay, so this is covered, that was covered, that slide was covered also in my paper on, more or less, on my paper on self-disruption, at least parts of it. But what's important for me here, having already said what I said, is that there was an evolution in the course itself. And on the left, it's just the weight of stuff. So what was the recurring theme of that phase? What was the major concept that we worked through? What was the difference in the pedagogy? What was the major metaphor that we were working on? What was what we were gearing at? So at the beginning, it was operations. Then it was about strategy, and now we cannot only teach one of them. It's like they can only be one. We teach system, strategy, and operation, and for us, it's all the same product at the end. They're a reflection of each other. And then even in the profile of our students, we try to exert different things from them. So in that phase that we are now, it's about the theme is mediation, and the main concept that we have to go through is tensions, systemic tensions, strategic tensions, operational tensions, so on. The pedagogy is disruption. You've heard me talk about this self-disruptions a lot lately. The metaphor is still the war machine, although we began with war machine, but it is still the reigning metaphor. And the profile of our students, we're trying to encourage them to be heretics, manipulators, and attractors. And while I'm saying attractors, it's because for us, the generals are the core of what the entire system is going to reorganize or self-organize itself when they leave the course. So what is important? What is a major part of the success of the general's course, if it is successful? I'll raise a question on that in a minute. It's about exploiting difference, and the difference is in 3 levels. 1, the group has to be heterogenic. I know other countries, the whole of government is something that you're more inclined to. In Israel, we weren't inclined to whole of government. It was military, then it was security, and now it's more or less national security. So we have in the general's course, if there are 20 people in each course, we'll have half military and half not military, other security branches, but also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so and so. So that's one part of exploiting difference. It's just the combination of the group. The other one is also a cognitive heterogeneity. We'll try to have different types of people in the group. So one will be more verbally oriented, one would be more graphically oriented, one would be better with numbers, one would be better with abstract notions. So we're getting whoever team that we're getting, when we split them during the work, we'll try to make sure that the subgroups are heterogenic cognitively as well. So that's a big thing. I think the more homogenic the group is, if all the group is military, it's going to fail. Again, that was our problem in the IDF. I think it's less of a problem in other countries. And then we exploit different to achieve transformation. And Thomas, you began with self-organization. That's a big part of our pedagogy. It's about self-education, self-criticism, self-organization, and self-creation. I'll explain it in a minute. The weight of the parts of the course, the general's course, they're doing it on the job. So they come for 2 to 3 days a month for 8 to 10 iterations, depending on how much the chief of general staff will release his men for the course. So it's between 8 iterations over the year to 10 iterations maximum. So between 24 days and 30 days in total. This is more or less the weight of the course it is now. So we use a couple of iterations for prep, which is philosophical, theoretical, and so and so. And then what I call fundamental here is teaching SOD, teaching the entire process in great detail. And then what I call advanced is that we start running real-time design exercises, real-time, real-life challenges. And then mutations is where we diverge from what we planned to do at the beginning. So if we said this year we're going to talk about the north, we're going to talk about Gaza, we're going to talk about whatever. Then mutation is what happens to us during that year and how the curriculum must change to remain in context with reality. Okay, but this is the weight of the phases, more or less as it is now. I don't know if to call it impact, but this is just in numbers, so we understand there have been 7 classes until now, which means 140 graduates in total in the last 7 years. The majority of the general staff, 19 out of 24, underwent the general's course. So we should have said, well, that's a great success. I mean, if almost the entire general staff has been educated in SOD, strategy, design, operation, you should be in a good position. And also from the parallel services, yes, the external security service, the internal security service, the police and staff, we have numbers starting gearing up of graduates who know the language, okay, who've met each other. Question mark. I'll get to that. This is Shimon Ave, by the way. This is a photo of him. The course, as it is called right now, it's called Strategic Expeditions. Each design inquiry is called an expedition. We just did some refurbishing, so that's what it looks like. It's a really tiny place. I mean, 2 teams, 1 plenum, and some small library. And we call it the Systemic Operational Design Studio in honor of Major General Ord Wingate. So that's what it's called because it's not really a course. And when we say studio, it's like the architect studio. Come and create. Okay. And I finished this, and then let's talk or ask or argue with the key tensions of where I think the course needs to go or is not going, or how it should develop from here on. So it's either tensions or food for thought. Okay, first one is the program. Obviously, when you there is a commander of the course. He's the commander of the entire all the military colleges in Israel. He's also the commander of the course, and the chief of general staff. They want to see the curriculum every year. They want to see the curriculum. They want to see a program. I don't want to show them a program. I want the mutations to take more part of the program than the program that I started with. COVID caught us in the last class, not this class that just entered, but the class that started at 2019. COVID caught us in the middle of the year. And there was a great debate whether to change the curriculum or not, because all the other problems still exist. Iran still exists. Hezbollah still exists. Gaza still exists. So do we switch and start talking about COVID or not? It almost tore this class apart. We ended that course. It wasn't easy, okay? And we tried to do both, and it was just not working. Although these people in their positions had to take care of both. They had to take care of COVID in their on-the-job training, and they had to talk about the other stuff, okay? So that's one tension. The other one, which comes with that, is theory or practice. Obviously, Shimon Ave wrote theory about SOD. I keep saying for 1,000 years from now. I don't think another piece of theory needs to be written about security design, to teach design. Not because it's so brilliant, because there's so much of it. Yes, it's brilliant, but there's so much of it. And the hard part is to practice design. Okay, think again, and we're teaching command, right? So we're doing one. I mean, CFC. I hopefully I'll travel and not do it online, but there is 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the entire curriculum where we actually practice design. Okay, so that's another tension in the program. You cannot practice design without the theory, But if you do the theory, it's hard for them. It's a lot of philosophy. It's a lot of postmodernism. It's a lot of hard words. And they shut themselves and they're not open to it anymore. And how do you do it? How do you teach them the philosophy subversively without them knowing that they're taught philosophy? Anyway, prep or mutations, I already said. What is a general's reality? Is the course, because remember, we're doing it OJT. But again, when they're coming to the 3 days in a month, they can't detach themselves really. So every coffee break, they take their phones and they check what's going on in their commands. And again, big, heavy things going on in the commands. And there is this debate, what is real for the general? Is for a general, should his reality be conceptualized, sit in the classroom and leave the straight shooting, as David said, to your subordinates? Because this should be your reality. Talking philosophy, developing concepts, and thinking about alternative horizons, or the reality of you as a general is to be back in your office and deal with all the shit the generals also have to deal with. So do you want to create this intellectual bubble when you teach design? Or do you want them to feel it, like have them lose sleep at night when they're doing the design exercise? Even what you talk about in a design exercise, that's part of this tension. Impact, I already said, after 7 courses, we can say for sure, they say it, not we, the instructors, the graduates say, the course changed me as a person. I will never look at reality again the same way. But we're getting a lot of criticism for 20 years, not just for 7 years. Is it changing the system? Probably, at least not formally, at least not openly. It is not, the system is not doing design. The politicians are not doing design. Again, strategy is strategy failing? No, it's not. The system has not reoriented around these ideas of how to look at reality differently, how to approach operations differently, and so and so. And the last one that I'm adding out of a conversation that I just had today with one of our generals in the morning, when I'm calling it Generation Z or Patient Zero. And in that, I mean that Shimon is 74. He developed SOD at his peak as a general when he was a 1-star general. The late 80s, beginning of the 90s, the first Gulf War, and so and so. The world has changed since then. The people who are generals now are of a different generation. They perceive reality in a different way. Although they're generals in the IDF or in other militaries. COVID just accelerated it. All the cultural, political, again, economic changes, social. I don't think I need to explain that. And I think we'll have to do the leap here. I mean, when Philip decided that he wants to develop a game, he wants to teach design through gaming, that was part of it. We're going to see generals of a different generation. And that's why I'm calling it Patient Zero. I'm not sure it's going to be evolutionary. I think at some point there's going to be a leap, like in the Singaporean army in the 80s, they just took a whole level of generals and they sent them home. And they said this military needs to be a quantum leap. It needs to be a non-linear leap. And I'm starting to have the feeling, in the last class that I taught, which was last year, the generals some of them were already younger than I am. And I was like, that is my generals, the 1-stars, yes? That's my cue to go. It's a different generation. And I'm still believing in this sentence, yes? In Salt we trust. And I have a sticker on my laptop, which you cannot see, from Gorak, which says, embrace the sun. Okay.
Thank you. It was very interesting. And but changing the system, it's and the famous saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast, I guess. It's harder to change the culture than strategy.
But is it a KPI? That's why I mentioned it. Is the KPI to change the system? Because if it's just about making the people, the generals, the commanders, better people, more creative, more attentive, okay, then we are achieving that. But if the purpose of teaching design is to change the system, that's what I have a question mark on. That's why I was pointing at it.
Thank you.
Choices. It's about choices to make.